All right, Aerosmith Baptist Church, I am doing a quick little video update here, a little news video for you. And this one's just for our church, but I actually want to reference the video that we did last week. The video, the big video that came out that contained the statement on the discovery of the 215 children's bodies that were found at the residential school in Kamloops. And I'm wanting to give you some information on this because it's our plan now to sort of submit that video for release on AV Chatterbox, Alberni Valley Chatterbox, which is a public sort of Facebook chat where it'll be seen by a lot of people. Now, we are doing that, and we did that video because this is a really important issue for us to have a voice on. Even though this was done by the Catholic Church, in the eyes of the community, that's still just the church. And us being the church, I think it's really important that we responded to something like this. And that, of course, is why we made the video in the first place. And the response, however, is supposed to be a response not just to us as a body or as a church. It's good that we respond to one another, that we can sort of gain some context, some clarity, and even express our repentance and sorrow as a body about this generally. But we also wanted to do this for the community at large as well, for the community out there. They need to hear that response as well. They need to hear from us on this particular topic. And they need to hear our response. They need to hear our sorrow. They need to hear our apology on behalf of the whole Christian church. So in order for this statement, this video that we've made to get out there into the community, we're beginning to think about ways that we can distribute it more broadly throughout the community and through other avenues as well, possibly our conference, for example. Hence, that's why we're thinking of posting it particularly on the Alberni Valley Chatterbox channel. And through that, a lot more people obviously will begin to hear and see the statement that we'd put together there. And my prayer is that from that, there will also begin to be a movement of restoration and healing that will come from it as well. That's our hope. Now, it also may be that people will have more varied reactions to this statement as well. And that reaction, well, it's going to vary. It's going to look different perhaps from one person to the next. And some people certainly will be very appreciative of our efforts to speak into this and even to express sorrow and apology for it. In fact, I've already received a fair bit of positive feedback in that direction. On the other hand, it's also possible, because this is obviously a very emotional and very sensitive issue, that it may elicit some deeper reaction, some more difficult reaction, and we might get some different feedback from people as well. With all of the pain and all of the anger surrounding this whole instance, that would not be unusual. So it's possible that some people may even begin to possibly lash out at the idea of a church speaking into this. They might even lash out at God if their anger has sort of overflown from this whole episode to Him, since the church that was a part of this was at least professing to do what they were doing to some degree as God's servants or God's hands and feet here on earth. It would be understandable that there might be some anger towards that. And as our response to this whole thing goes out there, I just want us to be prepared for the variety of possible responses that we might receive. Now, I'm quite sure that most of those responses will be very positive and appreciative. Apologies and empathy tends to elicit positive response. However, where the hurts are still very raw and tender, well, it could have a reaction of some skepticism or even anger towards the empathy and apology we might be expressing. And I just want us to know and to realize that that's okay if there's some reaction like that too. It's even understandable. And for us to not worry about that at all. And we don't need to feel as though we need to respond defensively to any kinds of responses that we might get about that. That is just part, I think, of the process of working toward healing and reconciliation. It's going to probably take some time, not just for us, but for the whole community, even the whole nation. It's going to take some time, and it's probably going to take some persistence to remain in this posture of empathy, understanding, and apology as we just work through this as a community, both a church community and the community at large. So let me just close by quoting from James, the Epistle of James, chapter 4, verses 17 and 18. James writes this. He says, "But the wisdom that comes from heaven is first of all pure, then peace-loving." And I'm focusing on the peace-loving part. "Considerate, submissive, full of mercy and good fruit, impartial and sincere. Peacemakers who sow in peace reap a harvest of righteousness." And it's just my prayer that God will grant us that kind of wisdom so that we can sow that kind of peace and reconciliation into our community around this very difficult issue.